Okay, so we have a slab that we've rolled out from the back slab roller, and then we have our rolling pin that we're ready to roll on top of this. I think one thing that is helpful, you can see that there's a slight texture on this, is to get rid of that because it can sometimes compete with what you have on your rolling pin. And really just like by taking your fingers and smoothing this, you can get that to go away. You could put just a little bit of water on there if you feel like it's not disappearing. But I would get rid of the texture from the canvas to make sure that you really can see what your design is going to look like. Okay, and you don't really have to worry about the edges. All of this is going to get trimmed because we are making, we're going to cut out a like 4.5 by 12, I think, piece for the beginning of our mug. Okay, so you really want to make sure that you stand up and that you push really hard. You're going to feel like you're pushing probably too hard. And let's see. So I'm going to just start back here and press, and then you really have to like keep pressing and then move your hands and keep pressing, move your hands, keep pressing, move your hands. And you can see like what you're going to end up with, which this is pretty cool. I mean, from this to be able to in what, 10, 15 seconds, get that design, pretty awesome. And so I'm going to take this, and this is not a real wet piece of clay, but it did get quite a bit bigger. Okay, you can see that like this piece didn't fit on there at first, and now it does. And so I'm going to go ahead and take my tool and just come around and keep this still and just run my hands and this tool around the outside. Now, if I wanted to, I could, I guess, think about more on where I wanted to place this. I could maybe wiggle it a little bit, but I really barely had enough, so that's kind of where it's going to go. Okay, so I can remove my extra. You can see, I mean, how nice and clean that looks. I'm going to twist it the other direction. It is a pretty soft piece of clay. I'm going to like angle two of these sides, and so I'm going to flip this over, and I'm going to like cut right here at an angle, and I'll show you why in a second. And then, let's see, I want to do the same thing to the front of this one. I just had to think about it. Okay, so just an angle off that. I'm going to go ahead and score with this as well. And that's not, the scoring is going to make sure that you've got texture, and then it's going to like Velcro the piece together. And so I'm going to run this tool just back and forth. I make sure that I've got lots of texture there. And then let me pour this off. I've got just some slip that I can use right here to just dot right on top of it. Okay, so then I'm going to flip, do the same thing over here on this side. Okay, so I've got this one. Put some slip right here. So I know that I have them. And then let's look and see where else I'm going to need it. So I'm going to wrap this around. This one's going to make it where these will like overlap, right, if you wanted to, but I think I want to pull mine just a little bit further, so I'm going to see that line. So I guess I'm going to need just a little bit more. I'm going to not try to line up what I have, like pattern-wise. I think that might drive some people crazy, that it's just not going to perfectly line back up around. And so I'm just going to embrace that it's going to, we're going to have a little bit of extra, like a line that goes down it, but I really think it'll be okay. Okay. Wipe my hands off. Okay, so I'm going to flip this around and then put these on top of each other. Okay, and you can see how since I trimmed part of that angle away, then it like at least helps this part. If you see there, do you see that, guys, or not? Maybe I should zoom in. Oops. Like this helps get rid of some of that thickness by getting rid of there, so it's gonna like sit together better. And then I can carefully flip that, do the same thing on this side. Okay, so I've got like the seam, there we are. Okay, on top of it, what I'm gonna do is take my tool and blend the inside too. This is gonna make it where, as long as I press this, since it's on top of itself, we're not gonna need a reinforcing coil. I'm just gonna blend this on the inside and blend that across. And it's just too dark, I think, to really, there we go. You can see how it's blended on the inside there. Okay. Okay, so now I've got this cylinder made, okay? And I'm gonna think about, at least for me, where I want the seam to be, okay? And I think I'm just gonna put mine right in the front, like center of this. And then I'm going to square this off. Okay, so I'm just kind of thinking roughly with a square, like how can I turn this like into a square? So I'm looking at the corners, but I'm not pinching anything to where I'm like pointy, right? And then I'm gonna give myself like a visual and give myself a middle line on this for each of these, so I just know like what I am thinking is like my corners. Okay, so from there, this is going to be a line that gets cut down, and I think I'm gonna go down like 1.5 inches. And so I'm going to, I'll show you this, I'll pick this up when I'm done. Draw a line, and then this is like actually to like 3. So I'm going to do that on all of them. Twist this around and draw this down to 3, and you can see that line that's there. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to put 2 more of those on. Oops. Okay, and I'm just using that that mark that I made on the top. So twist it, give it 1 more line. And you do just want to be careful. This is really wet clay, and we are putting it together, you know what I mean, right when we get it out of the bag. Okay, so now from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a triangle. And so you just want it to be, this is the middle point of the triangle. So that would be, let's see if I can hold this. I'm going to draw a piece that goes to each side. Okay, so do you see that section? Everybody sees that? You see the triangle from there, Cody? Is it like it's okay on the screen? Okay, so then this is what is going to get cut. Okay, so I'm going to take this and cut those once I draw the rest of my like triangles on these. Okay, so I have like another one here. I'm going to turn, do another one like here. And so this is removing sections. These are called darts. And they're used a lot like in sewing. That's a big thing. But you have like these triangular sections that's going to pull the clay in. Okay, so it's going to make it go from like a cylinder to a little square down at the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and cut these sections. So just use that same tool and go through and cut. And it's okay if they're not all like quite the same, okay? But you can see how I've cut that. And then I can take this out and that's what I have left, okay? And you're gonna have to be careful because you are cutting some of the structure out of this pot right now, okay? We're gonna put it back, but, okay, so I'm cutting that. I'm gonna move, cut the same thing over here. And move. Okay, so I have a cylinder and then I have cut these 4 like triangles out of them. Okay, and you could kind of look and see, I feel like this one might be a little high. And if you need to, maybe I didn't get all of that. Okay, so now I have these 4 sections and I'm just gonna take this tool and go back and really texture, I don't know if you can see, texture this part of it. Okay, you really want to do that and then you don't want to erase the texture that you make, the scoring marks, because then it's not going to make it stick together. You think of this as like Velcro. So then you're going to put those together. I don't know if there's a better, you can see this from the side. Right? Like these are going to go together and you're going to press those. Okay, so then you can see the same thing over here, that you've got this section that's got a hole, right? We cut this dart out of it that we're going to go ahead and score and slip. And same thing. Like dot some of this slip inside here. This is just kind of like glue. It's going to help that Velcro like stick and stay. It's okay if you've got some extra. Okay, and then we'll get these, oops. Okay, one more. And I'm really pressing those together. Okay. Okay, so you can see now that this is a much smaller base than what I had before, right? And then if you lift this up, okay, same thing, you can kind of round it. You could square it, I guess, if you wanted to keep it that way. But look how different that looks, right, on the side. I think it looks a little, I mean, I think it looks better. Like it's got more, I don't know, style to it than just a simple, like straight cylinder. What we do need to do inside here is we have these seams that need to have a reinforcing coil put on them. And so a reinforcing coil